Have you been waking up at 3 a.m. with your heart pounding, feeling like something's coming, but you can't name it? Have you been carrying a weight in your chest that no doctor can diagnose, no friend can understand, and no amount of prayer seems to lift? Have you been questioning if God has forgotten you while watching others walk into the very breakthrough you've been crying for in secret? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. What you're feeling isn't anxiety, it isn't depression. It isn't your imagination running wild in the midnight hours when the world is silent and your soul is screaming. What you're feeling is the atmospheric pressure of heaven preparing to explode. This is not a drill. This is not another prophetic word you'll scroll past and forget by dinner. This is an emergency broadcast from the throne room of the Almighty, and if you found yourself here right now in this moment, reading these words, it's because your name was whispered in heaven's war room. Something explosive will shatter the spirit realm on the 12th of July, and the enemy is terrified you'll discover what's coded inside that date. For months you've felt it, haven't you? That spiritual thunder rumbling in the distance. That sense that time is running out, that something massive is approaching, that the very ground beneath your feet is about to shift. You're not losing your mind. You're sensing the approach of divine intervention. But here's what hell doesn't want you to know. The 12th of July isn't just another day on the calendar. It's a prophetic detonation point, a moment when heaven will tear through every barrier, every delay, every demonic assignment that has held you hostage. If your spirit just jumped, if you feel pressure in your chest or a strange weight in your soul, don't ignore it. Type 999 in the comments now. That number marks your agreement with what heaven is about to reveal. And thank you to every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let that offering be your act of faith, your seed sown into heavenly ground. There is something coded inside the 12th of July that most believers will miss. Something so powerful that principalities are scrambling to keep you distracted, to keep you scrolling, to keep you spiritually asleep. But if you stay with me, I'll show you what the devil hopes you never uncover. Have you been counting down the days to something you can't even name? Have you been staring at your calendar, feeling like you're running out of time for a purpose that feels just beyond your reach? Have you been lying awake at night with this overwhelming sense that everything you've known is about to change and you don't know if you're ready? Listen to me, chosen one. That restlessness gnawing at your soul isn't mental illness. That pressure building in your chest isn't a heart condition. That sense of urgency you can't shake off, it's not anxiety disorder. It's spiritual labor pains. You're feeling the contractions of heaven, preparing to birth something unprecedented in the earth. And the 12th of July isn't just another date circled on your calendar. The 12th of July is a doorway, a prophetic portal, a divine detonation point where time and eternity collide. The wise man Solomon wrote in Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven." But what he didn't say, what most believers misses, that some seasons don't slowly fade into the next. Some seasons explode into existence. Some transitions are so violent, so sudden, so earth-shaking that they leave nothing unchanged in their wake. Look around you right now. Do you see the chaos? The political madness that makes no sense? The spiritual dryness in churches where the fire once burned bright? The confusion in families that once stood strong? The silence from heaven when you've been crying out for months? This isn't coincidence. This isn't just the world spinning out of control. This is the atmospheric pressure building before a divine ignition. You know how the air feels heavy before a thunderstorm? how animals get restless, how even the trees seem to hold their breath. That's exactly what's happening in the spirit realm right now. Creation itself is groaning, waiting for the sons and daughters of God to be revealed. Romans 8:19. But here's what will shock you. Most believers are completely missing it. They're treating the 12th of July like any other day. They're planning their barbecues, their weekend getaways, their normal routines. They have no idea they're standing at the edge of a spiritual earthquake that will reorganize everything. But you do. That's why you're here. That's why these words are burning in your spirit right now. You've been chosen to see what others can't see, to feel what others can't feel, to know what others refuse to know. For months now, you've been sensing something massive approaching, haven't you? You've been having dreams you can't quite remember but can't quite forget. You've been waking up with scriptures on your lips that you didn't even know you memorized. You've been feeling pulled towards something you can't define but can't ignore. That's not your imagination. That's prophetic awareness. God has been downloading preparation into your spirit because He needs witnesses for what's about to unfold. He needs carriers of His glory who won't collapse when the power falls. He needs vessels who can handle the weight of sudden breakthrough without breaking. But let me tell you something that might disturb you. This shift that's coming on the 12th of July doesn't start around you. It starts in you. Before God changes your circumstances, He has to change your capacity. Before He explodes your limitations, He has to explode your mindset. Before He destroys what's holding you back externally, He has to detonate what's holding you back internally. That's why the pressure has been so intense lately. That's why you've been feeling like you're being squeezed from every side. That's why old wounds have been surfacing, old fears have been screaming louder, old doubts have been attacking with fresh vengeance. It's not the enemy trying to destroy you, it's God preparing to promote you. Think about a rocket launch. Before that shuttle breaks through the atmosphere and touches the stars, it has to survive the most violent, pressure-filled moments of its entire journey. The engines roar, the metal groans, everything shakes so hard it seems like it might tear apart. But that's not destruction. That's propulsion. That's exactly what's happening to you right now. Every struggle, every sleepless night, every moment you felt like giving up, it's been rocket fuel for what God is about to launch in your life. David understood this. When he was running from Saul, hiding in caves, feeling forgotten and abandoned, he wrote Psalm 31:15, "My times are in your hands." He didn't say his circumstances were in God's hands. He said his times were. The timing of your breakthrough, the timing of your vindication, the timing of your restoration, the timing of your explosion into purpose. It's all been carefully calculated in heaven's war room. And the 12th of July is your appointed time. I can hear some of you thinking, but what if nothing happens? What if I get my hopes up again and I'm disappointed again? Let me ask you something. What if you don't get your hopes up? What if you let fear talk you out of expecting God to move? What if you miss the very moment heaven has been preparing you for because you were too afraid to believe? The children of Israel missed their promised land for 40 years because they were too afraid to believe God would do what He said He would do. They let their current circumstances convince them that God's promises weren't real. Don't make their mistake. Your time of wandering in the wilderness is over. Your season of delay is ending. Your moment of divine explosion is here. But you have to choose to step into it. You have to choose to believe it. You have to choose to prepare for it. Comment, "I'm ready," if you feel something breaking in your spirit right now. Type those words as an act of faith, as a declaration that you will not miss what God has planned for the 12th of July. Because what I'm about to show you next will explain exactly why the enemy has been fighting you so hard, and why your breakthrough is closer than you think. You know what's been happening to you, don't you? That bone-deep exhaustion that sleep won't cure. That heaviness pressing down on your chest when you wake up, like someone placed a 50-pound weight there while you slept. The way conversations with people you've loved for decades suddenly feel hollow, empty. Like you're speaking different languages, even though you're using the same words. You've been wondering if you're losing your mind, if maybe age is finally catching up with you, if the stress of life has finally broken something inside that can't be fixed. But what if I told you that everything you're experiencing, every strange symptom, every unexplainable moment of darkness, isn't a sign that you're falling apart? What if it's proof that you're about to explode into your destiny? Listen, chosen one. There's something the enemy doesn't want you to understand about spiritual warfare. It doesn't intensify when you're weak. It intensifies when you're dangerous. Think about it. When was the last time you declared war on an ant? When did you last strategize against a butterfly? You don't, because they pose no threat to your kingdom. But when something threatens your territory, when something has the power to dismantle everything you've built, that's when you bring out the heavy artillery. Hell has been coming at you harder lately because you're not who you were 6 months ago. You're not even who you were 6 weeks ago. Something inside you has been shifting, stirring, awakening, and the enemy can sense it before you can. You've been experiencing what I call proximity warfare. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more intense the battle becomes. It's like walking toward the eye of a hurricane. The winds get fiercer the closer you get to the center. Have you noticed how your sleep has been disrupted? Not just insomnia, but strange dreams. Dreams that feel more real than your waking hours. Dreams where you're fighting battles you don't understand, running from things you can't see, or standing in places that feel ancient and sacred. Your body knows something your mind hasn't figured out yet. Have you felt that strange disconnection from people who used to energize you? Family gatherings that drain you? Church services that feel mechanical? Conversations that once sparked joy now feel like obligations you have to endure? It's not depression, it's discernment. Your spirit is being separated from everything that can't go where you're headed. God is performing spiritual surgery, cutting away every soul tie, every false comfort, every relationship that would hold you back from the explosion He's prepared. And here's what's really happening in the realm you can't see. Every principality assigned to your region has received an urgent memo. This one is about to wake up. This one is about to remember who they are. Deploy everything: confusion, fatigue, isolation, financial pressure, family drama. Deploy it all, because they know what you're just beginning to discover. You carry something that terrifies hell. Job understood this. When everything in his life was falling apart, when his friends were telling him he must have sinned, when his own wife told him to curse God and die, Job made a declaration that shook the spirit realm. But he knows the way that I take. When he has tested me, I shall come forth as gold. Job 23:10. Job understood that pressure doesn't always mean punishment. Sometimes pressure means proximity. Sometimes the fire isn't meant to destroy you, it's meant to reveal what can't be destroyed. You've been in the furnace, haven't you? Month after month of inexplicable resistance, doors slamming shut just as you reach for the handle. People who promised to stand with you suddenly developing selective amnesia about their commitments. But what if that furnace isn't your punishment? What if it's your preparation? Gold doesn't become pure by sitting on a shelf. It becomes pure by enduring temperatures that would destroy lesser metals. And right now, you're being refined for something that requires the highest level of spiritual purity. The enemy's greatest mistake is thinking that pressure will break you. He doesn't understand that pressure is what creates diamonds. He doesn't realize that the same force he's using to try to crush you is actually crystallizing something eternal inside you. You're not under attack because you're weak. You're under attack because you're dangerously close to erupting into purpose. Every sleepless night has been developing your spiritual night vision. Every moment of isolation has been teaching you to hear God's voice above the noise of the crowd. Every closed door has been redirecting you toward the door that no man can shut. But here's what the enemy fears most. The 12th of July isn't just another date on your calendar. It's the day heaven has marked for your spiritual detonation. The day when everything that's been building inside you finally breaks through the surface, and he can feel it coming. That's why the warfare has been so intense. That's why nothing has felt normal lately. That's why you've been carrying this strange sense of anticipation mixed with anxiety, like standing on the edge of a cliff, knowing you're about to jump, but not sure if you'll fly or fall. You're going to fly, chosen one. But first, you have to let go of everything that's been weighing you down. If that's you, if you recognize your story in these words, share this video with someone who's on the edge. They need to hear this too, because God is raising up an army of those who've been through the fire and refuse to be consumed. But there's something else you need to know about the 12th of July. Something that will explain why every spiritual attack against you has felt so specifically designed, so personally targeted. Something that will change how you see every battle you've ever fought. Part 2. Why hell has been after you harder lately. You feel it, don't you? The attacks that come out of nowhere. The strange accidents that almost happened. The people who used to support you suddenly turning cold. The dreams that leave you exhausted instead of rested, the financial hits that make no sense, the relationships that exploded without warning. You've been wondering, God, what did I do wrong? But what if I told you that you didn't do anything wrong? What if the warfare intensified because you did something right? Listen carefully, chosen one. Hell doesn't waste ammunition on people who pose no threat. The devil doesn't assign his best demons to attack people who are going nowhere. When Satan increases the pressure, it's not because you're failing, it's because you're getting dangerously close to something that terrifies him, your breakthrough. Think about it. Have you noticed how the attacks started getting more personal, more strategic, more intelligent? That's because you're not dealing with random spiritual turbulence anymore. You're dealing with a calculated assault from principalities who have studied your pattern, learned your weaknesses, and designed a custom warfare plan specifically for you. Why? Because they've seen your file in heaven's archives. They know what's written about the 12th of July. And they're terrified. But here's what the enemy doesn't want you to understand. Every attack is actually confirmation. Every assault is heaven's way of saying, you're getting closer. Every spiritual bomb that explodes in your life is proof that you're walking towards something so powerful, so dangerous to hell's agenda, that they had to mobilize their best forces to stop you. Remember Job? The Bible says Satan came before God and said, "Have you considered my servant Job?" Why Job? Because God bragged about him. Because Job carried something that made hell nervous. And the moment God gave permission for testing, hell unleashed everything it had. But notice this, the attack wasn't random, it was precise. They took his wealth, his children, his health, everything that defined his identity in the natural realm. Why? Because they knew something was about to be birthed through Job that would redefine spiritual warfare for generations. You are Job in this generation. The enemy has been studying you for months, maybe years. He's watched you pray through the pain. He's seen you worship in the wilderness. He's witnessed your secret tears and your silent faith. And he's terrified because he knows what you don't know yet. You're about to step into a dimension of spiritual authority that will make everything he's done to you look like child's play. Think about the timing. Haven't the attacks escalated as we've gotten closer to the 12th of July, the sleepless nights, the anxiety that comes from nowhere, the people who suddenly can't stand to be around you, the doors that slam shut just when you thought breakthrough was coming? That's not coincidence. That's strategic warfare. But here's the prophetic word heaven wants you to hear. The intensity of the attack is directly proportional to the magnitude of what's about to be released. When David faced Goliath, the giant didn't roar at random soldiers. He roared at the one carrying the anointing to be king. When Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, it wasn't because he was ordinary, it was because his prayers were shifting the spiritual atmosphere over entire kingdoms. You've been wondering why you feel so alone lately, why even your closest friends don't understand what you're going through, why your family looks at you like you've lost your mind when you try to explain the spiritual warfare. It's because you're being separated, isolated, prepared. God is removing everyone and everything that cannot handle what's about to come through you. The casual believers, the fair-weather friends, the relationships built on convenience rather than covenant. They're falling away not because you're becoming difficult, but because you're becoming dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Have you noticed how your tolerance for compromise has completely disappeared? How you can't stomach the shallow conversations anymore? How the entertainment that used to distract you now feels like poison? How the places you used to find comfort now feel spiritually dead? That's not you becoming judgmental. That's you becoming sensitized to the frequency of heaven. You're being tuned to a different wavelength, and everything that doesn't match that frequency is becoming unbearable. But here's what hell fears most. You're not just surviving the attacks, you're learning from them. Every assault is teaching you something about spiritual warfare. Every demonic strategy is revealing their playbook. Every attack is actually building your spiritual immune system, making you stronger, wiser, more dangerous to their agenda. You're not the same person who started this battle. The tears have refined you. The betrayals have purified your motives. The loneliness has driven you deeper into intimacy with God than you've ever been. And that terrifies hell, because they know what happens when God's chosen ones emerge from the fire, refined rather than destroyed. They know what happens when the pressure meant to crush you actually creates diamonds in your character. They know that what's about to emerge from this season of warfare is not just another believer, it's a weapon in God's hands. The attacks haven't been random. They've been preparation. Every assault has been boot camp. Every spiritual bomb has been training for the real war that's coming. And the 12th of July is graduation day. Are you starting to understand now why hell has been after you so hard? It's not because you're weak, it's because you're about to become unstoppable. But this leads us to the most critical revelation of all. Because while you've been focused on the external warfare, God has been preparing something even more explosive. The real battle isn't just around you, it's about to begin within you. Chosen one, I need you to stop everything you're doing right now and listen with every fiber of your being, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you thought you knew about spiritual breakthrough. You've been scanning the horizon, haven't you? Watching the sky, waiting for God to move in your circumstances. You've been praying for doors to open, for people to change, for situations to shift. You've been expecting the explosion to happen around you, in your job, in your relationships, in your bank account. But that's not how heaven works. The explosion that will rock the spirit realm on the 12th of July won't begin in your living room. It won't start in your workplace or your church pew. It will detonate in the deepest caverns of your soul, in places you've kept locked away for decades, in wounds you've learned to live with, in compromises you've made peace with. And that terrifies you, doesn't it? Because you know what's down there. You know what you've been avoiding. You know what you've been medicating, managing and moving around instead of dealing with. Those midnight thoughts that make you question everything. Those patterns you swore you'd break but keep repeating. Those voices from your past that still whisper lies about who you are and what you're worth. Listen to me carefully. Jesus said in Matthew 9:17, Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. You've been begging God for new wine, new anointing, new opportunities, new breakthroughs. But you're still carrying old wineskins, old mindsets that tell you you're not worthy, compromised habits that you've justified for years, hidden wounds that you've painted over but never healed, secret shame that you carry like a stone in your chest. And God is saying, I cannot pour my glory into a broken vessel. I cannot trust you with power while you're still enslaved to powerlessness. The real explosion isn't fire from heaven, chosen one. It's fire from inside your own bones. It's the Holy Spirit detonating every false foundation you've built your identity on, every coping mechanism that kept you comfortable in your cage, every toxic relationship you've clung to because loneliness felt scarier than betrayal. Do you feel it stirring even now? That uncomfortable shifting in your spirit? That's not anxiety, that's demolition. God is getting ready to blow up everything in you that cannot follow you into your next chapter. And I know you're scared. I know you're thinking, but those things are all I have. Those familiar patterns, those predictable people, those safe little routines, they're what keep me sane. But chosen one, what if what's keeping you sane is also keeping you trapped? What if the very things you're afraid to lose are the prison bars preventing your breakthrough? You've been comfortable being the victim of your past. You've gotten used to explaining your limitations by pointing to your wounds. You've found a twisted security in staying small because small feels safe, manageable, controllable. But the 12th of July is coming like a divine earthquake, and everything built on false foundations is going to crumble. The question is, will you fight the demolition or will you surrender to the reconstruction? Here's what hell doesn't want you to understand. You've been begging God for a new level, but that level requires a new version of you. Not a better version of who you've always been, a completely transformed version. A version that thinks differently, speaks differently, responds differently to pressure. A version that doesn't need approval from people who don't understand your calling. A version that doesn't shrink when opposition comes. A version that doesn't apologize for taking up space in rooms where God planted you. But to birth that version, this version has to die. And that's the explosion, chosen one. It's not the gentle renovation you've been praying for. It's complete demolition followed by divine reconstruction. It's God saying, I'm not fixing what's broken, I'm building something entirely new. The old you that settled for scraps will be incinerated. The old you that accepted rejection as normal will be obliterated. The old you that played small to make others comfortable will be completely destroyed. And in that sacred space of emptiness, in that holy moment of spiritual nakedness, God will breathe new life into dry bones. He will plant new dreams in soil that's been cleared of old roots. He will pour new oil into a vessel that's been purified by fire. But here's the part that will test everything in you. This explosion will feel like loss before it feels like liberation. It will feel like dying before it feels like rising. It will feel like everything is falling apart before you realize it's actually falling into place. The people who can't handle your transformation will distance themselves. The opportunities that were keeping you stagnant will disappear. The comfort zones that became your prison will be set on fire. And you'll stand in the ashes wondering if you made a mistake trusting God with the deepest parts of your soul. But chosen one, that's exactly where miracles are born. In the space between what was and what will be. In the sacred pause between death and resurrection. In the divine tension between letting go and taking hold. This is your moment of choice. This is your Red Sea moment, your burning bush encounter, your Damascus Road collision with destiny. Will you cling to the familiar dysfunction, or will you step into the unknown transformation? Comment, I agree. if you're willing to let go of what comforted you just to carry what God has prepared for you. Because what comes next will determine whether you're still talking about breakthrough in 5 years or whether you're walking in it. You know what cuts deeper than betrayal, what wounds more than rejection, what breaks your spirit faster than any enemy attack. Delay. That crushing weight of watching everyone else walk through doors that remain locked for you. That suffocating silence when you've been crying out to heaven for answers that never come. That slow burn of watching years slip by while your dreams gather dust and your faith starts to fracture. You've been there, haven't you? Standing in the ruins of another unanswered prayer, wondering if God has selective hearing. Watching others celebrate breakthroughs while you're still waiting for the phone to ring, the test results to change, the prodigal to come home. And in those midnight hours when the house is quiet and your heart is screaming, you've whispered the question that terrifies every believer. God, did you forget about me? Listen to me, chosen one. That question isn't doubt, it's human. Even Jesus cried out, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" The delay isn't destroying your faith, it's deepening it. But you need to understand something that will revolutionize how you see every closed door, every silent heaven, every prayer that seems to bounce off the ceiling. God is not late. He's loading you like dynamite. Let me take you back 4,000 years to a young man named Joseph. 17 years old, full of fire, carrying dreams that could shake nations. God gives him visions of greatness, sheaves bowing down, stars falling at his feet. Joseph sees his destiny so clearly he can taste it. Then, silence. Betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, thrown into prison, forgotten by those he helped. Year after year after year of delay. Can you imagine what went through Joseph's mind in that dungeon? God, you showed me ruling nations, but I can't even rule my own circumstances. You showed me family bowing before me, but they sold me like cattle. Where are you? Where are the dreams? Where is the destiny? But here's what Joseph couldn't see from that prison cell. God wasn't punishing him. God was positioning him. Every betrayal was building his character. Every injustice was developing his wisdom. Every year of delay was preparing him for a responsibility so massive that without that preparation, it would have crushed him. When Pharaoh's dreams needed interpreting, when Egypt needed saving from famine, when millions of lives hung in the balance, Joseph was ready. Not the 17-year-old dreamer, the seasoned, tested, refined man of God who had been forged in the furnace of delay. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Psalm 27-14. That word wait in Hebrew doesn't mean sitting passively. It means being twisted together like a rope, being strengthened, being prepared for the load you're about to carry. Look at David. Anointed as a teenager to be king, then spent the next 15 years running from King Saul, hiding in caves, being hunted like an animal. 15 years of delay between the anointing and the throne. But those weren't lost years, those were loading years. Every battle with wild animals was preparing him for Goliath. Every night in the wilderness was teaching him to depend on God alone. Every psalm written in darkness was preparing him to lead a nation through their darkness. You see, God doesn't delay your breakthrough because he's cruel. He delays it because what's coming through you is too powerful to rush, too significant to release prematurely, too dangerous in the wrong hands. Delay isn't evidence God forgot you. It's evidence that what's coming through you is too powerful to rush. Right now, heaven is watching you. Angels are taking notes on your faithfulness in the wilderness. Your character is being forged like steel in fire. Your patience is being developed like a muscle under resistance. Your faith is being purified like gold in the refiner's fire. Every door that slammed shut was protecting you from settling for less than God's best. Every job you didn't get was God saving you from a distraction. Every relationship that ended was God removing what would have hindered your destiny. Every prayer that seemed unanswered was God saying, "Not yet, because what I have planned is bigger than what you're asking for." The delay you're experiencing isn't random. It's not God being slow. It's not heaven ignoring you. It's divine detonation timing. When dynamite is loaded, there's a careful process. You can't rush it. You can't shortcut it. You have to pack it precisely, set the timer exactly, and wait for the perfect moment. Because when it explodes, it reshapes entire landscapes. That's what God is doing with your life right now. He's loading you with wisdom, with character, with spiritual authority, with supernatural favor. And when your moment comes, when the 12th of July triggers the divine detonation, what explodes out of your life will reshape not just your world, but everyone in your orbit. The mother who's been praying for her prodigal son for 20 years, she's not being ignored. She's being loaded with the kind of faith that will move mountains when her breakthrough comes. The businessman who's watched every venture fail is not cursed. He's being prepared for an opportunity so big that his past failures were just training for his future success. The question isn't whether your breakthrough is coming. The question is, are you using this delay to let God finish the work He's doing in you? Because, chosen one, your delay is about to become your greatest testimony. Your waiting room is about to become your launching pad. Your wilderness is about to become your promised land. Write, "God is never late," in the comments if this just ministered to your heart. But I need you to understand something that will determine whether you rise or fall when the 12th of July arrives. You cannot receive an explosive outpouring casually. Listen to me, chosen one. When God is preparing to detonate something this massive in the spirit realm, it demands sacred preparation. This isn't a gentle Sunday morning blessing we're talking about. This is a supernatural eruption that will shake the very foundations of hell itself, and unprepared vessels, they shatter under the weight of glory. You've been crying out for breakthrough for years. You've been on your knees begging God to move mountains in your life. But let me ask you something that might sting. Are you prepared to handle what you've been asking for? Because here's the brutal truth. Most believers never face we spend our whole lives praying for God's power, but we live like spiritual children. We want the explosion without the preparation. We want the miracle without the purification. We want heaven's fire to fall, but we won't even turn off our phones long enough to hear God's voice clearly. That stops now. The explosion coming on the 12th of July is not for the distracted. It's not for those still nursing old wounds while expecting new wine. It's not for people who think they can scroll through TikTok all day and then expect to hear the whispers of heaven at midnight. God is issuing divine protocol, sacred instructions. And if you ignore them, you won't just miss the explosion, you'll watch it happen to others while you're left wondering why nothing ever changes in your life. Protocol 1. Silence the noise. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. When was the last time you sat in complete silence for 30 minutes? Not praying, not reading, not listening to worship music, just silent, letting the chaos in your mind settle like mud in still water until you can see clearly to the bottom. The enemy's number one weapon right now is noise, endless chatter, constant notifications, the subtle hum of anxiety that never quite goes away because your soul never gets quiet enough to rest in God's presence. You want to know why your discernment has been cloudy? Why you can't hear God's voice clearly anymore? Because you're spiritually drowning in noise pollution. Starting today, not tomorrow, not next week, today, you're going to carve out sacred silence, 1 hour minimum. Turn off everything, sit still, let God recalibrate your spiritual frequency, because explosions are precise, They're surgical, and if you can't hear the countdown, you'll miss the detonation. Protocol 2. Fast for focus. Block off the 11th of July to fast, half a day or more. Let God recalibrate your spirit. I can already hear some of you making excuses. I can't fast because of my medication. I have a dinner planned. I don't feel led to fast. Stop. Just stop. You've been praying for years for God to move supernaturally in your life. And now, when He gives you specific instructions to prepare for the very breakthrough you've been begging for, you're going to negotiate with Him. Fasting isn't about starving your body. It's about awakening your spirit. When you deny the flesh, the spirit rises. When you break the cycle of constant consumption, your soul remembers how to hunger for the things of God. This explosion is coming whether you're ready or not. But your ability to receive what God is releasing depends entirely on how prepared your spirit is to contain it. Protocol 3. Worship as warfare. At midnight, Paul and Silas prayed and sang praises unto God, and suddenly there was a great earthquake. Acts 16:25-26. Notice that word, suddenly. That's the language of explosion. That's the sound of heaven responding to worship that comes from broken places. You think worship is about feeling good. You think it's about emotional highs and goosebumps. Worship is warfare. It's a declaration that God is bigger than your circumstances. It's a spiritual earthquake that shakes loose everything the enemy thought he had locked down. For the next 7 days leading up to the 12th of July, I want you to worship like your breakthrough depends on it, because it does. Worship when you don't feel like it. Worship when you're tired. Worship when your heart is breaking. Worship until something shifts in the atmosphere around you. Your praise is the key that unlocks prison doors. Your worship is the sound that brings down walls. Your declaration of God's goodness in the middle of your greatest battle is what triggers the very explosion you've been waiting for. Protocol 4. Let go of the former. Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:18-19. Here's what's going to shock you. The biggest obstacle to your breakthrough isn't the devil. It's your attachment to what's familiar. You've been praying for God to do something new while clinging to old mindsets. You've been asking for promotion while nursing old offenses. You've been begging for fresh anointing while refusing to let go of stale relationships that drain your spiritual energy. This explosion isn't just about addition, it's about subtraction. God isn't just going to give you more, He's going to remove what can't go where you're headed. So let me ask you directly, what are you holding on to that's actually holding you back? What familiar pattern, what comfortable compromise, what old identity is standing between you and your destiny? Because on the 12th of July, God is going to do something so sudden, so powerful, so transformative, that everything in your life will be measured as before or after that moment. You are God's fuse. He's been preparing you, positioning you, purifying you, and now He's waiting for you to light. The question that will determine everything is this: will you follow the sacred protocol, or will you watch the explosion from a distance, wondering what could have been if you had only been prepared? You feel it, don't you? That rumbling in your bones that says something's about to snap. That electric tension in the air when lightning is about to strike. The 12th of July isn't just approaching, it's barreling toward you like a freight train loaded with divine justice. For too long, you've watched the enemy parade around your life like he owns the place. For too long, you've endured the taunting, the delays, the stolen dreams, the recycled pain that keeps showing up at your door like an unwelcome visitor who refuses to leave. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've worshipped through tears. You've declared victory while defeat whispered lies in your ear. But chosen one, on the 12th of July, heaven draws a line in the spiritual sand. Do you hear that sound? It's the Lion of Judah unsheathing his sword. It's the King of Kings rising from his throne. It's the God of angel armies saying 4 words that will shake hell to its core. Enough is enough. This is your Red Sea moment. What has chased you for years, that generational poverty, that family dysfunction, that spirit of rejection that followed you from childhood, it's about to drown here. The same God who split water 14 feet deep for Moses is about to split the spiritual realm wide open for you. You've been running from Pharaoh's army long enough. That depression that stalks you, that addiction that hunts your bloodline, that spirit of failure that whispers you'll never amount to anything. They've chased you to the water's edge, and now they think they have you trapped. They have no idea what's about to happen. Exodus 14:13 declares, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Never see again." What plagued you for 20 years could lose its grip in 20 minutes on the 12th of July. What tormented your grandfather, destroyed your father, and stalked you since birth, it dies here. The cycle that ran through your family tree like poison in the roots, it stops with you. But here's what most believers miss. This isn't passive deliverance. This is confrontation. God isn't just setting you free, He's declaring war on everything that dared to touch His chosen. He's not whispering sweet promises in your ear. He's roaring judgment over your enemies. Can you feel the shift in the atmosphere? The very air around you is charging with divine electricity. Angels are taking positions. Demons are fleeing to their bunkers. And you precious, battle-worn, faithful you're standing at the epicenter of heaven's greatest showdown. Every chain will snap. Not bend, not weaken. Snap. Soul ties that bound you to toxic people, generational curses that ran in your DNA, mental strongholds that built fortresses in your mind, they're about to be demolished by the breath of the Almighty. This is spiritual day. This is heaven's invasion of hell's territory in your life. And the enemy knows it. That's why the warfare intensified. That's why you've felt under siege. Hell's entire army is throwing everything they have at you because they know what's coming. But listen to me, warrior. Their desperation is proof of your victory. You don't fight this hard to keep something you're confident you'll never lose. They're fighting like their lives depend on it, because the 12th of July is their expiration date in your story. God is about to do what He did in Egypt. He's about to demonstrate His power so thoroughly, so completely, that even your enemies will know that the hand of the Lord is upon you. When the dust settles, when the smoke clears, when the spiritual battlefield goes quiet, you'll be the only one left standing. The Red Sea is parting. The walls of water are rising. Your enemies are about to be swallowed by the very waters they thought would drown you. And you're going to walk through on dry ground, carrying the spoils of war, singing the song of Moses, free at last. But this moment demands something from you. It demands that you stand firm. It demands that you stop running, stop hiding, stop apologizing for who God made you to be. It demands that you lift your voice and declare what heaven is already decreeing. Declare this with me right now. The delay ends now. The curse breaks now. The cycle ends with me. Say it louder. Let hell hear you. Let your ancestors hear you. Let every demon assigned to your bloodline tremble at the sound of your voice declaring their defeat. Because the 12th of July isn't just coming for your enemies. It's coming for you, to crown you, to promote you, to launch you into the destiny they tried to steal. Are you ready to see what happens when God fights for you? Are you ready to witness the greatest supernatural turnaround of your lifetime? Because ready or not, the line has been drawn, and you're about to cross over into your promised land. Chosen one, after the smoke clears, after the dust settles from heaven's detonation on the 12th of July. You need to understand what you're walking into. This isn't just about breakthrough. This is about recompense. This is about divine payback for every year the locusts ate from your life. You see, when God explodes barriers, He doesn't just clear the path. He prepares a banquet in the ruins of your enemies' plans. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Psalm 23:5. That table isn't just set for dinner, beloved. It's set for vindication. Listen carefully. After this explosion, doors you didn't even know existed will swing wide open. Not doors you knocked on until your knuckles bled. Not doors you begged and pleaded to enter. Doors that recognize the new authority you're carrying. Doors that bow to the fire of God burning in your spirit. That job you gave up on 3 years ago, it's going to call you back with a promotion you never applied for. That relationship you thought was dead and buried, God's about to resurrect it with terms that favor you. That dream you buried in the graveyard of disappointment, heaven is about to roll away the stone. But here's what will shock you most. The people who rejected you, who overlooked you, who whispered that you'd never amount to anything, they're going to witness your elevation. And it won't be coincidence. God is strategic about who gets to see your comeback. Your vindication will be public. You're not just walking into blessing, dear one. You're walking into justice. For too long, you've watched others get the credit for your ideas. You've watched people with half your integrity get twice your opportunities. You've sat in the back row while lesser lights took center stage. But that injustice didn't go unnoticed in heaven's courtroom. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? Genesis 18:25. And He's about to make things right in ways that will leave you breathless. But I need you to understand something that most believers miss. This isn't just about God being good to you. This is about God making a statement through you. When heaven elevates the faithful, it sends a message to every principality, every power, every demon that thought it had won. The message is simple: touch my anointed and pay the price. Your elevation becomes evidence. Your restoration becomes testimony. Your breakthrough becomes a weapon in the hands of the Almighty to encourage every other chosen one who's been walking through their own valley of shadows. After the 12th of July, you're going to experience something the Bible calls divine acceleration. Time itself will bow to God's purposes in your life. What should have taken you 20 years will happen in 20 days. What you thought you'd lost forever will return multiplied. That house you lost in the divorce, God's got a bigger one with your name on the deed. That business that failed and left you bankrupt, heaven's about to fund a vision that will make your former success look like pocket change. That reputation that was destroyed by lies, God's about to give you influence that reaches further than you ever imagined. But here's the key: you won't be the same person walking through these new doors. The explosion doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. The you that emerges from the 12th of July will carry a new confidence, a holy boldness, an unshakable knowing that if God can explode you out of that situation, there's nothing He can't handle in your future. You'll walk differently, speak differently, pray differently, because you'll carry the testimony of witnessing God move heaven and earth on your behalf. And when people ask you, how did this happen so fast? You'll smile and say, let me tell you about the 12th of July. The favor coming isn't just personal, it's generational. Your children will walk in doors that opened because of what God did for you. Your grandchildren will inherit influence that was purchased by your faithfulness in the fire. But listen to me very carefully. With great breakthrough comes great responsibility. God isn't opening these doors just so you can be comfortable. He's positioning you to be a gateway for others. You're about to become living proof that God still moves on behalf of His people. You're about to become evidence that loyalty to heaven pays dividends on earth. You're about to become a sign and a wonder that causes others to say, "If God did that for them, what will He do for me?" This is why the enemy fought so hard to keep you down. He knew that once you rose, you wouldn't rise alone. Your breakthrough would trigger an avalanche of breakthroughs in the lives of everyone connected to you. After this explosion, you will never walk small again. You couldn't if you tried. Once you've seen God's hand move that powerfully in your life, false humility becomes impossible. Say it out loud right now. After this, I will never walk small again. But there's one more door that's about to open, the most important one of all. Beloved chosen one, as we close this sacred moment together, I want you to remember 3 unshakable truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, the 12th of July is not just another date on your calendar, it's a divine appointment that was written in heaven's ledger before time began. The spiritual pressure you've been feeling, those 3 a.m. awakenings, that inexplicable weight in your chest, none of it has been random. It's been the sound of heaven's machinery moving on your behalf. Second, the warfare you've endured hasn't been punishment, it's been preparation. Every attack, every setback, every moment you felt forgotten has actually been evidence that hell recognizes something powerful in your destiny. The enemy doesn't waste energy on people with no calling. And third, this explosion coming to shatter the spirit realm isn't just about your personal breakthrough. It's about generational chains being broken, ancestral prayers being answered, and divine promises that have been waiting for their appointed time to manifest in your bloodline. But here's what I need you to understand with every fiber of your being. You are not walking this path alone. Even in your darkest hour, when silence felt like abandonment, God has been orchestrating, positioning, and preparing. The same God who numbered the hairs on your head has been counting every tear, collecting every prayer, and preparing an answer that will leave you breathless. And you're not alone in this community either. Thousands of others are walking this same journey, feeling these same spiritual stirrings, recognizing these same divine signs. We are a family united, not by blood, but by calling, not by circumstance, but by covenant. Let me ask you this. What if everything you've endured, every broken dream, every delayed promise, every moment of despair, what if it was all positioning you for a miracle so profound that it will redefine not just your life, but the lives of everyone connected to your story? Now, before you close this screen, before you return to the noise of the world, let me place my spiritual hand on your shoulder and pray over you with the authority of one who has seen God's faithfulness for over 5 decades. Father God, Almighty Creator, the one who holds tomorrow in your hands, I come before your throne right now, carrying the heart of every soul who has stayed with us through this message. Lord, they didn't find this word by accident. You led them here. You whispered their name in heaven's council, and you marked them for this moment of revelation. I pray over every person reading these words right now. Touch them, Lord. Let them feel your presence like a warm embrace around their weary soul. For those who have been carrying burdens too heavy for their shoulders, I pray you lift that weight right now. For those who have been walking in confusion, I pray you release crystal clear direction. For those who have been fighting battles in secret, I pray you send angelic reinforcements. God, as the 12th of July approaches, I pray you prepare their hearts to receive the explosion of your glory. Break every chain that has held them back. Shatter every barrier that has blocked their destiny. Demolish every lie that has whispered, they're not enough, not chosen, not loved. Replace every wound with wonder, every scar with strength, every tear with triumph. Lord, I pray for supernatural provision, divine health, restored relationships, and breakthrough in every area where they've seen doors close. Let this be their season of suddenly doors opening, suddenly provision appearing, suddenly healing manifesting, suddenly dreams resurrecting from the grave. Cover them with your protection, guide them with your wisdom, and fill them with your peace that surpasses all understanding. Let them sleep tonight, knowing they are loved, chosen, and destined for greatness in your kingdom. In the mighty, matchless, miracle-working name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. If this message has stirred something deep in your spirit, I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell me what God spoke to your heart today. Share your prayer requests. This community believes in the power of agreement, and we will stand with you in faith. And please, don't keep this hope to yourself. Share this message with someone who needs to know they're not alone in their struggle, someone who's been carrying secret pain, waiting for a sign that God hasn't forgotten them. You might be the vessel God uses to deliver their breakthrough. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Your time is precious, and you chose to invest it in seeking God's voice. That doesn't go unnoticed in heaven. If this ministry has blessed your life, please subscribe and ring that notification bell, not for my sake, but so you never miss a word that God might have specifically for your situation. Remember, chosen one, you are seen, you are loved, and your breakthrough is closer than you think. Until we meet again in this sacred space, walk in the confidence of who you are, a chosen, anointed, and unstoppable in the hands of the Almighty.